All right, well, first give me a test just to see how it's catching your voice. That's not your voice.
I know.
Why? Why you gotta do stuff like that? All right.
If I don't,
who will?
No one else will.
If you don't, who will?
If I don't, and frankly, I don't get paid anything for it, I'm putting the extra effort.
This is your gift to the world.
Right now, it's my gift to you.
Oh, man. Can I get a gift receipt for that?
I don't have people buy it for that exact reason. I get more utility out of it.
All right. Well, moving on to the actual point. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Slapcast. I am SchwarzTKD.
And I'm LegendbyDesign.
And tonight we're going to be talking about Iron Fist.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just start off with how do we feel about it?
I felt okay about it. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad.
That's where I'm standing too.
That's where I thought.
It's definitely not, looking at just the Netflix shows, it's definitely not my favorite.
No.
Yeah, for a lot of reasons. It had some great moments, but I was meh on a lot of details of it. And I'm not saying that to turn anyone away, because it's definitely worth watching. And frankly, if you like any of the Netflix Marvel shows, you're going to want to at least read the summary of what happened in Iron Fist, so you're not confused when you do watch the characters you care about in the Defenders.
Yeah, true.
But, it could have... Actually, a really good argument I heard for it, because I love the fight choreography. I talked about this when we talked about Daredevil.
Yeah.
And I was really disappointed by how little of the fights I could see. They were frequently in dark rooms. Camera angles were moving. The camera was moving around a lot. It was cutting angles faster than usual. One of the better fights was the one with the Drunken Master, because that was in an open, brightly lit courtyard, so I could actually see the Kung Fu in my Kung Fu TV series. So one of the better arguments I heard was that what they should have done is they should have actually put Danny in an Iron Fist costume with the head bandana and everything, so that when he needed to fight, they could get a stunt double in. Which actually kind of brings me to my main point. I'm not in love with Finn Jones's portrayal of Danny. It didn't do it for me.
Why are you trying to convince me?
Oh, I'm just saying it.
He's got the chops to do it. Fucking Loras Tyrell from Game of Thrones. God damn, the dude knows how to act. I think he just definitely put a lot of work into his American accent, which was pretty good.
His accent was fine.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice it.
Yeah.
Well, the thing for me was that he was really inconsistent tonally. Like in a given scene, or not a given scene, in a given type of emotion he was supposed to present.
Yeah. Sometimes
he would nail it, and sometimes it would seem just completely wooden. And I have Facebook beeping at me. Let me just fix that in a second here.
Yeah, sometimes it happens.
Yeah, so I thought a lot of the cast was great. I thought that who played Colleen? That wasn't Jessica. Oh, well, there's two Jessicas in the cast list. Oh, it was Jessica Henwick, as opposed to Jessica, I'm probably going to mispronounce her last name.
Jessica Stroop.
Stroop as Joy. Well, both the Jessicas, I've had to be confusing on set, both the Jessicas were fantastic.
I wouldn't imagine it.
No, probably not. They didn't even have that many scenes together.
Yeah. I don't think they had... Yeah,
they had a couple scenes early on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But, no, they were both great. They were both absolutely fantastic. I thought that Jessica Stroop was great as Joy. She was really believable. She cared about Danny and about her brother the whole series. Jessica Henwick was awesome because when she was betraying the Hand, you could believe her motivation for it. A lot of the cast was great. And Tom, definitely going to mispronounce this name, Tom Pelfrey as Ward.
Yeah.
Although, that reminds me, I saw this great somebody put together a great meme of Ward from Iron Fist and Ward from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with the caption, "If Marvel has taught me anything, don't trust a man named Ward."
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen that.
It didn't circulate very far, but no, a lot of the cast was great.
Sure.
And it wasn't just Finn Jones that fell a little flat for me. Not him. I have not liked Madame Gao since she first appeared. It feels like a case of the writers trying too hard with her. You know, she's just like so quintessentially villainous, and it just feels out of place in these shows. Like, so, you know what I mean? Like, so archetypal, classical 90s, 80s, 90s villain. Like, super villain kind of villain. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, you kind of need those archetypes to clearly establish some bad person. Well, some antagonist.
It worked, but they did it in Daredevil with Nobu. And he didn't come off as that. He still came off as a villain, as a super villain, and as like a real threat in Daredevil season 2. But it didn't feel as heavy-handed, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Depends on where they're going with the Defenders.
True.
I think that might be. I think maybe that's setting up for the Defenders.
That's what I've been hearing a lot about as well. Is that the Hand is likely going to be one of the main villains, especially with the end of Iron Fist. With, Kunlun being destroyed, it seems.
Yeah, Kunlun being gone.
Yeah, so... Which either it was completely destroyed, or the pass was simply closed.
I'm thinking the pass was closed.
Yeah, so we don't know the fate of it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, overall, that's, like a C plus B minus. Definitely worth checking out Iron Fist. It just didn't measure up to some of the others that we've seen.
Well, it's kind of tough, and they're all trying to be their own thing as well,
genre-wise. That's true.
While still maintaining a place in a specified universe.
Jones is a detective mystery,
neo-noir kind of deal.
Right. Cage is Cage, quite frankly, I still describe as a real, hero origin comic story. That's what it felt the most like to me.
Yeah.
With a lot of really great tributes to black culture, really great treatment of black culture. But Iron Fist, it just didn't feel like anything for me. And what I mean by that, it felt like they were trying to do too many things with the story. We had the Kunlun story, which tied into the Hand, of course. Mm-hmm. We had Danny getting back into the company and the Meachums. And there's the connection there with Harold being revived by the Hand and everything, but that felt like a completely separate story. And ending with him as the essentially final boss fight, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, well, I think it's, didn't they explain that? Like, as every time he gets revived, he becomes less human? Right.
Well, they did explain it, but it's still narratively, I just wasn't feeling it at that point. Because they had spent the bulk of the show building up the Hand and Madame Gao. They had a natural, decent transition over to Bakudo and his faction of the Hand. But then all of a sudden, that was over. Had a great finale. Great fight with Colleen. Friggin' phenomenal, especially because we could actually see what was happening. Again, I'm going to stress that.
Yeah.
That was great. If the show had ended there, it would have had a strong ending. But then we had 2 more episodes, which was basically felt like a let's tie up the loose ends. And it didn't really, it felt rushed. It felt awkward and left even more things hanging. Like an example would be, in one of the ending scenes, Joy is sitting with, what was his name? I got it here, Davos. She's sitting with Davos, who's convincing her that Danny needs to die, and Madame Gao's at the next table.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense for Joy's character. At no point did she feel betrayed or let down by Danny. If anything, with that scene in the penthouse where she gets shot, she should be angry at her brother, at Ward, or at Harold. I feel like they're just trying to, force some character conflict that isn't there to lead into the Defenders.
Sure.
That scene could have worked just as well with just Davos and Madame Gao.
Right.
Because Davos already has a motivation even before he and Dany split paths. For why he doesn't want Dany to have the fist and why Dany needs to die so that someone else can take it, blah 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 blah. You know,
sure.
It felt like a reach.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you kind of summed it up there pretty well.
Yeah.
I actually kind of want to go to the Rotten Tomatoes reviews.
Sure, let's do that.
Read through some of them and thoughts of them.
Actually, before we do that, so I'll just touch on one that I watched. I watched a review of Iron Fist, and this was back when I had only seen a few episodes. I watched this review after he first broke down the door of the hospital, when we first really saw the fist itself in action.
Yeah.
And again, the fights we could see that I could actually track steadily were great.
Yeah.
There was some great choreography in there. Like the hatchets in the hotel hallway. That was fucking awesome.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's just like what the whole series felt like, was just a whole bunch of, this is great. Why aren't you doing it the same way here? Because now it doesn't feel great. One of the critics who I like to watch his reviews on, Movie Bob, I mentioned him before.
Yeah.
He pointed out, because he's actually touched on this before, how every single Marvel project kept knocking it out of the park. And a couple of years ago, he actually kind of did just a little off-topic episode, talking about how what's going to happen when, statistically speaking, it'll happen eventually. What's going to happen when they release a bomb? And that's kind of what Iron Fist is, from a critic's perspective, not from an audience one. The audience, and I agree with the audience perspective, when I'm just sitting back and taking it in, it's fine. Like I said, C+, easy. But from a critic's perspective, who are trained to look at things like narrative, pacing, character development, that's where it falls flat. So, and that's what he talked about in his Iron Fist review. But the interesting thing that I noticed is that it doesn't matter. Marvel's been doing this since 2003?
2008.
2008, when the first Iron Man came out. They've been doing this project for almost a decade.
For a decade.
Pretty much, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They've been making, from Iron Man 1 till now, it's been a decade of movies and TV shows and shorts.
Yeah, pretty much a decade. Yeah.
Right. And I think even 5 years ago, basically once the first Avengers came out and they proved that the formula could work, they could have released a bomb then. And it would have been bad, but they could have kept going with the project.
Sure.
Now, it's not even an aspect of goodwill, of the fans being like, let's say they released a movie that was just terrible, just god-fucking awful. It's not even a matter of the fans having so much goodwill that they're, putting blinders on and ignoring it the way we do with celebrities or internet groups or whatever. This is just an aspect of the fans having faith. Because, aside from Iron Man not being a steaming pile of crap, the fans are we know that they're going to have something better down the line. And that if nothing else, they're going to learn from this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
My favorite fights in the TV shows are the two scenes in Daredevil. Episode 2, in the hallway with the Russians. And Season 2, I think it's Episode 3 of Season 2, when he's in the apartment building with the chain and he goes down the staircase. Those are two of my favorite fights in the Marvel TV shows. I would have loved to see some of that in Iron Fist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to make that point that it's just interesting that they've done so good, they've done so well for so long, that we just trust that they're going to deliver. I'm still just as excited for Guardians 2 and The Defenders and Infinity War. Okay, so let's see here.
Defenders got a release date in August
of
2017.
Oh shit, that's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
You see that scene with the elevator scene you're talking about, right? Yeah, where Jones jumps up and punches the camera.
Yeah. No, I found out the actual release date was then, I think, through Comic Book Cast.
Yeah. Right. Oh, through Armin and them.
Yeah. Yeah, I was listening to them on SoundCloud one day, and they're just like, "Oh nice. Yeah, here it is." I'm like, "Oh, cool,
nice,
good."
That's why I hang out with them.
Yeah, they're cool.
Yeah, we'll do some stuff with them pretty soon, probably. They're definitely down for that.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool. I like that.
Actually, looking at the Rotten Tomato reviews, so somebody posted something that pretty much sums up what I was just saying. A relatively drab patch in that endless Marvel tapestry. And, like, that's my point. Like, this isn't a terrible entry into the shared universe. It's just not the best one.
Sure. Another one. I can think of no reason Iron Fist would have been worse off for giving the part to an Asian actor. I also have no hope that would have made this show comprehensible or exciting.
Now, I gotta argue that one, because when the casting was first announced, everyone was crying whitewashing like they always do. And, like, you're aware that in this case it is a white male character. Yeah. Now, that's not to say that it's good that the original Iron Fist is a white dude. He was actually introduced back when it was common to take aspects of other cultures and apply them to a white man to make them not just palatable, but marketable. And for that character to take some of that ownership of that culture. Misappropriation, that's the word. Yeah. It was, not a good thing, but it's not whitewashing to cast Danny Rand as a white guy.
As a white dude, yeah. Iron Fist is the textbook definition of just fine.
Yeah, C+. That's exactly...
That's the only fresh review on the page right now. Well, that
we're looking at
right now.
I like this one. Plot points that should have been charged with urgency simply ended up feeling a bit dull, while the fight scenes themselves, at least in early episodes, lacked any real sense of danger. And that's true. Now, granted, the fight scenes in the early episodes... I think the first real fight we saw was when he was weaving through the festival and taking out the 3 different guys.
Yeah.
So that one, you want to downplay the danger in that because that's the point of that sort of fight scene. He has countless civilians around him.
Yeah.
But this person has a really good point of the plot points that should have been charged with urgency. And it's true. Like the whole thing with the Meachums. Mm-hmm. They were trying to tell too many stories. And I feel like if they should have done either just the plot with the Hand and Bakuto's faction of the Hand, and Davos, feeling betrayed by Danny, and then in season 2 done the Meachum stuff. Set all that up in season 1.
Yeah.
Have Danny learn that Harold's alive. Show just how abusive Harold is to Ward, and Ward's own struggles with that.
Sure.
And probably have Joy discover Harold's still alive. And the scene when Ward finally lost his shit and stabbed Harold was fucking great. They were building up to that whole episode and even earlier.
Yeah, definitely.
There were so many good scenes, and if they had just taken their time with it. And I don't know, maybe they just didn't want some of these plot points dangling during the Defenders.
Sure.
Okay. Then don't introduce them in season 1.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Ultimately, Marvel's Iron Fist feels incredibly inessential, even boring at times.
Yeah, I actually had to rewind an episode because I fell asleep. Granted, that was me being exhausted more than the show, but... Yeah.
I don't believe you were actually tired for the reasons that I will not go into. But I'm fairly certain that A, there are reasons I can pick on you for. B, I can invent new reasons. Probably raunchy ones.
You don't,
definitely raunchy
You don't really need to find reasons to pick on me. You're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, but that takes a lot of work. And I don't think you appreciate the effort I'm putting in.
The level of
the level of commitment I am putting into
the shit
this.
Throwing that you give me.
That's all I do. And you started giving it back, and that's good. That's healthy. That's beautiful. I love it. It's like not a total divestment. I love that. I love that.
Folks, I can't tell if he's staring at me in exasperation or just awestruck love right now.
It's neither one of those.
Now it's exasperation.
Not even close. All right. What else are we
back to Rotten Tomatoes. We harmonized. That was beautiful.
6 out of 10 on my end. I could have done better.
Iron Fist's decided unwokeness is notable, particularly when Danny lectures Colleen, who is of East Asian descent, on the right way to channel her internal force. But it's just one of a list of flaws, with Jones is miscasting the most obvious issue. And
that's going back to whitewashing, I think.
I think this person is definitely approaching it from a whitewashing angle.
Yeah.
That said, there were definitely some scenes where Finn Jones lecturing on like the showing respect to the dojo just felt so out of place.
I don't think it felt out of place.
Not out of place, but for me, just hearing him deliver that, it didn't hit. It didn't hit home.
Didn't hit.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. But I kind of gave the character the benefit of the doubt in instances like that. Like, he was 10 years old, found the monastery, the monks found him there, they raised him for 15 years.
Yeah.
That's the way he knows how to live.
And that's nothing... And that's... Go ahead.
And that's it. Like, that was the end of the thought. Like, that's the way he was taught how to respect outside of his folks. And and to me, I can forgive that. And that's not even me having an issue with the character. It's me just not feeling the delivery. Sure.
It felt forced.
Yeah.
A lot of the times Finn Jones just felt forced, and in a cast where a lot of them were just nailing it. As well as they ever do, as well as Marvel cast ever do.
Rosario Dawson.
Mad love. Yeah.
Mad love for Rosario Dawson.
Right. It felt... The difference was palpable.
Sure.
Although since you bring her up, Rosario Dawson, love her. I love Claire's character. She's a great... I love the fact that she's the glue that connects the 4 Marvel shows.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. It's just... It's like the Stan Lee cameo in a few ways, you know? It's the connective tissue. That said, I don't think we needed that much of her. You know, she was in almost half the episodes, and that's fine because we're going to see more of her in The Defenders, of course. We're going to see more of her in the other shows. But if we had...
She was in about the same amount as she was in Daredevil.
Well, and I was thinking Luke Cage. She was in a lot of Luke Cage.
She was in a ton of Luke Cage.
But in Luke Cage, there was a much more grounded, solid reason for her character to be there.
Sure.
You know, she had a much more personal, vested commitment there.
Yeah.
Having her in so many episodes of Iron Fist, it was great when they first showed her taking self-defense from Colleen. But as it rolled on, you know, she didn't need to go to China with them. You know, she didn't need to... I think you know what? Actually, I think if they had not brought her to China, that would have been fine. Because then she would have had a few scenes midway when she was introduced into the show. And then later on when she's patching up Danny and meeting Davos.
Sure, yeah.
That would have been great. That would have been just enough to show... Because, again, some of the harsher critics were like, it felt like Marvel was pandering by having Claire in so many things. Like, oh, we know you like Claire? Here, have more Claire. Have all the Claire. I don't completely agree with that, but I do agree that we didn't need her in as many episodes.
Okay.
You know?
Sure.
Yeah, so take her out of the trip to China. There was no reason for her to go along.
No, never. We want Claire Temple always. Forever.
I do like that she's an amalgam of so many characters from the comics. And it's what they are doing with her is working. And again, nothing that I disliked about Iron Fist broke it for me.
Sure.
You know? I watched all of it. I enjoyed all of it. And the climax was good. Like when Danny, in the final episode, when Danny fucking swings down and breaks the window and then flips over and punches the floor and blows out the entire floor of the fucking tower. That was awesome. And
that's pretty great.
That's what I want to see in my goddamn Kung Fu TV series.
Yeah.
Kung Fu movies, you know, your typical like Jackie Chan, Jet Li, all of them, their era of Kung Fu movies follow a basic pattern. You know, introduce the setting, show the stakes, show the major players. In the second act, this is true of the hero's journey movie in most cases anyway. You see the same thing with Luke Skywalker. Second act, they're struggling, they get defeated, they get knocked down, and they have to learn from their mistakes and build themselves back up.
Sure.
And then they have their big climax where they overcome their demons, literal and figurative. You know,
Sure.
and we had that with Danny. But it didn't feel as strong, for one. Mm-hmm. Also, with Kung Fu and martial arts action films in general, you need to showcase the action. The only times we really saw it were just, it just wasn't enough for me.
Wasn't enough?
No, I keep thinking of the elevator fight in Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
That is one of my favorite damn fight scenes. The only way it would be better is if they would hold the goddamn camera still. That's just, again...
That's limited space to work in. A fucking elevator full of people. Chris Evans being huge.
Fixed camera is some of the best scenes in that fight are when the camera is in the elevator ceiling and just looking down on them.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And there were a lot of times, or like when they're in the building across the way, so they're looking at it from across the courtyard. It's great. There are some great scenes in that fight. When he's fighting Bucky after the car chase.
Yeah.
You know, again, some great scenes. And that one's even better, because in that one, probably, again, because you mentioned the spacing, the logistics of where to put the actual physical camera.
Yeah.
That one's even better, because they could hold the camera on scenes. You know, like when Bucky stabs the van and slides down, that's a great time to have the camera slide along with them. Right. You know? It feels more immediate than just having them come to the camera if the camera's at the end of the van. Although that has its advantages too. You know, that kind of has a Jaws feel to it, where it gets where the knife and the action gets closer to you.
Right, sure.
The elevator fight, the camera, one of the few times I like when the camera moves is when I think it's Crossbones. Cap has one of the magnets on his wrists, mm-hmm. and Crossbones kicks his arm, and the camera follows him, getting his arm pinned to the wall. That is a great use of that technique, because it follows the action. But when you're just moving the camera around, it didn't feel in Iron Fist, and again in some of the scenes in that elevator fight. In Iron Fist, it felt like the camera was moving just to make the fight feel more rushed, feel more. I think they were trying to make it feel more fluid, but it didn't feel more fluid. It didn't feel more martial arty. It just felt cluttered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. That's an interesting look at it.
It's a long, rambling look at it. My apologies, folks.
Yeah. Let's read more.
Yeah. Let's go back to Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah. Jones doesn't have the comic timing. Jones doesn't have the comic timing or presence to sell Danny's aw shucks bumbling doofiness. Jackie Chan, he is not. As a result, the character comes off less as an innocent and more as an entitled, slumming boho jerk.
And
what does boho mean?
Bohemian. As in like basically new age hipster.
Don't let the hipsters know. There's a new type of hipster that they can hate.
That's a lot of what I'm hearing, especially from the critic level, if not from the audience level.
Sure.
Yeah.
And most of these reviews are classified as rotten as opposed to fresh.
Right. Let's see here. Oh well, here's. Okay, so let's go to some audience. Because
those were all critics.
These are all critics reviews that we've talked so far.
53 other critic reviews.
Right, and the overall critic score
is 17%.
17%. Now the overall audience score is 80%.
Yeah,
and that goes back to what I was talking about, where like even the audience members who are kind of meh, we still can take away from it that there's some good stuff. It sets the stage for more in the Defenders.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
One of them just given 5 stars.
Another one just says 2 stars. The writers really screwed this up.
Yeah, 2.5 stars when you have to be the follow-up to the fantastic shows like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage. You know that there's a chance you will fail. You will fall short. But then again, that hadn't happened until this point. Marvel has been absolutely making a killing in terms of ratings on their Netflix program.
Ooh,
I am not going to read the rest of it.
No, this person wrote a goddamn novel. Holy shit.
I mean, props to you for taking the time.
Props to you, KJP, period, because you wrote a goddamn book.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure it's very detailed.
It clearly. I'm looking at it. I'm just speed reading it, and yeah, it definitely, they went into depth on this. But just the first sentence here, when you have to be the follow-up to fantastic shows like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage, you know there's a chance you will fall short. And that's all that happened here.
But then again, that hadn't happened up to this point. Yeah,
right, this was Marvel's first, air quotes, flop, and it wasn't even really that much of a flop. It was
flop-ish.
Instead of someone just belly flopping the water and slamming into it, following someone who just did a perfect dive.
Yeah.
This is someone just did a perfect dive and you follow it with a cannonball.
Sure, yeah.
It's not a complete flop, but it's certainly not as graceful.
Right.
You'll get a passing score from the judges, but you're not going to take home the gold.
Sure.
I like that. It's good.
Don't feel proud of yourself.
I'm feeling a little proud of myself.
Okay, you can feel proud of yourself.
All right.
Yeah. Another 5-star one, 1.5 stars.
The 5-star one, I liked it. I'm going to read this verbatim.
It not as bad.
It not as bad as the critics think it is. Although the season is slow to get into the Iron Fist lore, it slowly but steadily climbed to the plot point of season 1, parentheses, quite predictable. And that's a good point. It did follow. You could see some of the plot twists coming a mile away. Like Bakuto's faction being actually part of the Hand. I wasn't expecting Colleen to be part of the Hand, so that caught me by surprise. That's a rare thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
wait, awesome best show on TV and
this
and Luke Cage.
Yeah.
Huh. I mean, I definitely like Luke Cage a lot.
Oh, God, Luke Cage is still... Well, Luke Cage and Jones are my favorites.
Jessica Jones is still my favorite.
Yeah. Jessica Jones, I think, is the better written one. Has the better narrative for a story overall.
Yeah.
I like Luke Cage more personally, just because, like I said before, it feels like the most comic book origin story.
Yeah.
But Jones is... They're like tied, basically, because Jones is just ridiculous.
We have to specify, because the guy playing Iron Fist is named Finn Jones, so you should say
Jessica Jones, the character. Not
Jessica
Finn,
Jones, the show, yes.
The show, not Finn Jones, the actors.
Yeah, that's probably good that we nip that in the bud.
Right. And then there's 2 Jessicas on the cast, like I said. I was thinking of Jessica Jones.
Yeah, Chenwick.
Jesus Christ.
Chenwick and Stroop.
Yep. So here's a half-star audience review. One half. Just half of 1 star. Even having read early reviews, Iron Fist was crushingly disappointing. I loved Jessica Jones and Daredevil and was lukewarm to Luke Cage. Yet, Iron Fist surprised me with all the plot holes, logical inconsistencies, bad acting, bad editing, and miscasting. I watched every episode thinking it couldn't possibly get worse, but it turns out that turning into a rotten tomato is Danny Rand's true superpower.
Oof.
This
dude is savage.
Yeah.
Too loud in the mic.
It'll be fine. I'm going to adjust it later anyway. But, and that's the thing. But this person clearly isn't turned off to the rest of Marvel. They're probably going to watch The Defenders anyway because of what they did enjoy. Yeah. And I think that Finn Jones, I think he can only get better. I've been shitting on him a lot. Well, not shitting on him, but I've been kind of meh.
You've been lukewarm to him.
I've been lukewarm to him. But I think he can only get better,
Sure.
Because he's going to... And I noticed, who was it who played Daredevil? What's his real name?
Charlie Cox.
Charlie Cox, thank you. There were some scenes in the first, even in the second season of Daredevil, where I just wasn't feeling it from Charlie Cox either. But they're going to settle into their roles, they're going to settle into their characters, and they're going to find a groove that works for them.
Yeah.
And again, Finn Jones... There'd be a scene in an episode where he needed to be angry. And then in another episode he would need to be angry. And in one of those he would nail it, and in one of those he would fall flat. Same with any other emotion he was trying to display. So it's there. I know he can do it. I just gotta see him do it consistently.
Okay. Yeah. That's fair. It's just, this is such a departure from the character he played in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Which... he did a really good job with that.
Yeah, and I haven't gotten to that point in the show, but I know who you're talking about. I know who Loras is, and I can see that, because if his character in the show is even half what he is in the books, that's a very different character than Danny Rand.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. It's definitely very different.
No question about it. And that's actually a really good point, because that says a lot about Finn Jones' ability to be different characters. Sure. That's not something a lot of people can do.
Sure. No, that makes sense. Yeah, and he was also Loras Tyrell for what, 6 years? 5-6 years? And he was only Iron Fist for a few months?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he definitely grew into Loras Tyrell much more fully.
Right.
Much more completely.
Look at it just in the Marvel franchise films. You have Chris Evans.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, most people, sometimes have to remind myself that aside from Cap, he also played the Human Torch in those first couple Fox Fantastic Four movies.
Right, yeah.
He is a very different character in those. So much so that you almost, if you watch them one after another, you could almost believe they were different actors.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, because they are, and the fact that Finn Jones can go from Loras Tyrell to Danny Rand in just a couple of months, that is a point in his favor.
Sure, yeah. Definitely. Oh my, yeah. Let's get back to the audience reviews.
Yeah. So here's one. Here's a 3-star one. I never thought that Iron Fist would be able to support its own series, now I see that maybe it could. The problem is that it should have been a much shorter one, which I touched on earlier. Yeah.
Sure.
Going into Defenders, knowing why each person is taking a stand is very important, but the Danny Rand story is just not told in a compelling way. I don't care that the actor is not the race that many fans hoped for, which we touched on that. The guy still could have hit the gym a little. Ouch.
It was just, he came off to some as very skinny.
Yeah. That is not the body of a well-trained monk that was trying to become a protector of his world. All that said, if the I Am Danny Rand show was done before Daredevil, separate words, it would have fared a much better response, which actually is a good point. If this had started the Netflix shows, if this was the one that everyone built off, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Touching on hitting the gym,
there's only so much you can do.
For one, he's at a monastery. They don't have a gym. They would have been doing kung fu and sparring each other. So you're never going to be a bodybuilder with that regimen. You're not going to be Captain America.
I mean, you'd be pretty lean, but you wouldn't be huge.
Right, and that's... I never looked at Finn Jones and said, you physically don't look like a kung fu expert. I didn't have an issue with that. I mean, Jesus, all the scenes where he's actually doing the Tai Chi style movements and everything, I'm just like, yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, well, I think he studied a couple of different martial arts to prep for this role.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, and he did the work. The man did the work. They all did.
They all did the work.
All did. Yeah, and it's not just Finn Jones needing to physically look the part. You have who was it that played Ward? Tom Pelfrey. He did a fantastic job showing somebody just spiraling from addiction and yo-yoing back up and down with his health and his sanity.
Yeah, that was pretty well done.
He was haunting in some scenes.
Yeah. So haunting you just wanted to reach out and
punch his face. Yeah.
You wanted to give him a hug and then strangle him.
Yeah. David Wenham. Yeah.
So it's a Welsh.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think he's Welsh or Australian.
Okay.
Either way, that's a pretty big difference, but
one of those, or somewhere in between.
There's a lot of British and Australian actors that work on stuff like this. So
yeah. Hey, you want to see a lot of Australian actors? Watch a Power Rangers show. They do all their filming in New Zealand, and so they get a lot of New Zealanders and Australian actors to play the Rangers because it's cheaper than flying someone in.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so there's a lot of it. And not all of them can fake an American accent. Sometimes they don't even bother. They just, yeah. But we're not here to talk about Power Rangers, as much as I love it. I'm wearing a Power Rangers shirt.
Yeah, for those of you who can't see, he's wearing a
Megazord.
shirt about the Megazord, yeah.
Hey, it came in Loot Crate. Giant surprise, That did too.
So did this, yeah.
Yep.
For those of you who can't see, I'm looking at a metals diecast. X-Men Old Man Wolverine pop figure almost.
Yeah. Yeah, just a different series
Just
of the
a different
pop
series,
figures. Anyway, David, however you say his last name, as Zombie Harold Meacham, he was great. Like the episode where he came back from the dead and was just wandering around in a daze as his brain was literally putting itself back together was great. The fact that he could portray that and then later in the same episode be back in that ridiculously composed douchebag, except he's not looking like a douchebag attitude. That's great. That just fucking blew my socks off.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. And
I totally agree with that.
yeah. Oh, Jesus, I can't even say his last name. Sacha Dhawan?
Sacha Dhawan, yeah.
Dhawan, yeah. The
I
H is
believe
probably
that's
silent.
Yeah,
silent
Davos.
there. Yeah. So Sacha Dhawan as Davos, who, for those of you who haven't seen the show yet, was one of Danny Rand's buddies growing up in Kunlun, who wanted to be the Iron Fist. He was great too, because the way he kept, when he lost his temper that one time and quickly suppressed his emotions again.
Yeah.
Showing and then the rest of the time where you can feel that how much he's repressing.
Yeah.
The actor showing that just under the surface tension was really good. I freaking loved it.
Yeah.
And when he finally cut loose with it, it was believable because of that.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Very, 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 very well made point.
Yeah. Do you want more of this or back to the...
Back to the...
All right, we'll go back to the reviews.
Yeah. Lots of 5 and 4 stars.
I mean, this is a 4-star one, but it's an interesting point they make with the 4-star.
Mm-hmm.
You want
to? This is definitely the lowest point in Marvel Netflix TV shows, but not the worst of all TV shows. The overall plot was good, but there were some places where the pace was too slow, as in episode 2. The action sequences are bad and can't be compared with Daredevil. They feel like they are fighting in slow motion. But seeing as a whole package, it isn't as bad as the critics says it is. Worth watching.
Yeah, and at some points they did use slow motion for the fights, which I have no problem with special effects like that. You can use that to sell you use it to sell the drama. But it's true, this is definitely, it's just interesting that despite it being the quote-unquote worst or lowest point, it's interesting seeing how everyone is still just yeah, all right.
Right, yeah.
I mean, again, granted, it helps that it wasn't a complete piece of crap.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, if it was just a complete dumpster fire of a show, like some of the critics are saying it is, it'd be a different story. And again, I get why they're saying that, because I view it through the same lens, with the narrative, the pacing, the structure, the characters, all of it. Looking at it that way, yeah, it's terrible. When you look at it from just a observer's standpoint, it's kind of like, I'll think of a metaphor in a bit, but yeah, if you look at it from just the observer's standpoint, it's fine. It gets the job done.
Sure, makes sense. Lots of different 3-star, 4-star, 5-star. One of them just said loved.
Yeah.
All right. Some of these go pretty in depth.
Yeah.
Some of these have some serious
there's
points to make.
Yeah, so there's a couple here, a 4 and a 5-star. So the 4-star says, it was a good start. The main is presented as young and childlike, which is the point. The first 2 and last 2 episodes are slow, but the rest are really good. I think the critics are racist. I believe they mean racist. and are basing the low score on the fact that he's white because wit people can't be good. Good A kung fu. Let's forget Chuck Norris. Okay, that kind of went off the rails a bit.
Yeah.
We're just reading it as it's shown. This isn't us being silly for the sake of being listened to. This is
Cause wit people.
Yeah. I mean, Dana's wit people. Nah. Schwartz is wit people.
So is Legend.
Yeah. Oh, I'm super wit.
Oh, we're two wit boys from Vermont.
Vermont. If we ever utter that sentence ever again,
you're gonna. If I ever say that again, I'm not gonna stop you from hitting me.
Oh no, I'd do far worse.
Yeah. So the 5-star one, which is actually somewhat more grammatically correct.
Yeah, go for it, bud.
This Marvel story adapted to a Netflix series about the Iron Fist. His story starts at his return to American, air quotes, civilization, misspelled, after training in Kunlun for 15 years due to a plane crash in the Himalayas, losing his parents in the process. He does some punctuation there. You will witness a still broken, conflicted man return to a new, air quotes, new home changed by modern-day society and his attempt to return to the life he left and also fulfill his duties as the Iron Fist, although at times both his roles may clash. Use some punctuation throughout this. Before you listen to any scrubs complaining about the fact he is white, well, it's because the comic book character is white. I don't get why people complain. Thank you. Also, order best to worst of the current series: Daredevil Season 1, Daredevil Season 2, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, all awesome shows. And again, we just keep hitting the same point where, the fans, even if the fans don't like parts of it, they still like it overall.
Yeah.
It's right, especially with how it ties into everything.
Yeah. Some of them saying way underrated, while not as dynamic as Daredevil, still an engaging and interesting series.
You know what I'm actually interested about? Because we got some time left. I want to touch on this. What I'm going to be interested in seeing is how the Defenders work, period. Because it's one thing to have the first round of Marvel films all come together for the Avengers, and prove that you can do the shared universe.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting in having these 4 different characters. Now, we had some already, Jones and Luke Cage. Luke premiered on Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see. And was that, before I forget, was that a letter from Luke that Claire was reading in that one episode?
I believe so, yes.
I believe so. Okay, that's what I thought. Just wanted to check.
Yep.
What I'm curious about is having these 4 different characters come together for a mini-series. It'd be one thing to have the 4 of them come together for like a 2-hour movie that Netflix produces. But no, they're doing a mini-series, so we're talking at least 6 episodes here.
How do you not know how many episodes there are?
Well, it's probably closer to like 12 or 13.
It's 8.
It's 8. Okay, it's 8.
We got 8 episodes, dude.
Okay.
Now that we're all up to
speed.
speed.
I said at least 16.
Well, it's your job to know this stuff, man.
I'm getting better. I'm learning. It's
the internet
process.
is here, and it's a thing.
I'm talking.
It's a clear and
present
tool to use.
You're a tool. You're a clear and present tool.
Now, understand that does not really fit.
I had to because the setup.
No, you really didn't.
I did.
No, you didn't. But you.
What will be
anyway.
What will be interesting, and I'm curious what you think on it, is having this mini-series, having these 8 episodes, where obviously they're going to start with like, okay, Luke is going to come back from being sent to prison in Georgia, because they got to get the characters all back together somehow.
Yeah.
The Hand is going to be a factor. Claire is going to be part of it as well, obviously. But it's going to be interesting, like, how are they going to work plot threads that they deliberately left hanging from some of these other shows into the Defenders? What of those are still going to be remaining for them to address in their own shows? What Defenders plot threads are going to be there for them to address? Hell, Jessica Jones had the most tied up show of all of them.
Yeah, that was wrapped up in a neat little bow.
Exactly. It had setup, it had stakes, it had conclusion. There were no plot threads left hanging in there. Except maybe the fact that, with what happened with Luke, her fight with Luke, and her being responsible for his wife's death. But that got wrapped up in Luke Cage's show anyway, without Jones making an appearance.
Right.
Yeah. So it's gonna be. That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Because I've never seen anything like this before.
Yeah, I'm more interested in the actual dynamic of the team.
That's a good point.
I'm more interested in that because there's going to be some tension between Luke and Jessica.
Yeah.
And Matt Murdock and Danny Rand are just kind of coming in. They're just like, we don't know each other.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I have a dog in this fight. I just hate the hand.
Yeah. Oh,
that'll be what connects the two of them.
Yeah.
They both have.
I'm also a lawyer. Just hey, you want to be part of my legal team? What's the pay like? Probably more than you're making now. I'll take it.
What's the pay like? Terrible. I'll take it.
Yeah, right.
Well, and that's a plot thread. What's gonna happen with the Murdoch and Nelson and Murdoch law firm?
That was already in season 2.
Yeah, I know it wasn't officially over, but it was pretty clear what was happening.
Oh, it's over.
Yeah. Although speaking of it, yeah, it's you're right. It's gonna be really interesting seeing how these characters play off each other, how these actors play off each other.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna really help Finn Jones to be to be part of an ensemble cast.
Yeah,
rather than
all
the main.
All of these guys have, Charlie Calix, Kristen Ritter, Mike Coulter.
Yeah,
they're not all that much older, grand scheme of things.
Yeah,
but they're they're more. I think they might be more experienced, and I think he could definitely learn something from them.
Yeah,
and that's one of the things I'm looking forward to is like how they're going to play off of each other. Certainly.
Yeah, I think that's what really did it for me for Finn Jones, because he was the main character in Iron Fist. The only character who got more screen time than him was Harold Meacham, because he was one of the primary antagonists.
True.
And so Finn Jones has to be in almost every scene, has to basically carry the show as the main character. I think in an ensemble cast, he can fall back if need be. He can he can lean on his castmates, play off of them. It's going to be really interesting seeing what that does for his performance, because he's still going to be the same character, obviously, duh. But I think that's going to really help him. And like you said, these other three, Cox, Ritter, and Coulter, they have a lot more under their belt than he does, so he can only learn from them.
He's got Game of Thrones, man.
I mean, he's got Game of Thrones, but he's got 6 years.
I'm saying that's not nothing.
And that's the thing too. Game of Thrones is a very different show.
Incredibly, yeah.
No one is the main character there.
Yeah,
it is
definitely.
Basically a giant fucking ensemble cast.
Yeah, once one person's story ends,
they're done. They're done, exactly. So Iron Fist was a very different ballgame for him that he had to come in on. He had to practically come in just cold turkey and just be like, what do we do? It's like, what can I do for this?
Where am I? Who are you? What are we doing?
Exactly. Whereas in Game of Thrones, even if it was a scene focusing on Loras Tyrell, he wasn't the only quote-unquote main cast in the room.
Certainly. They
don't have main cast. They basically just have primary cast and background cast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you have a name in Game of Thrones, you're main cast.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a really, really good point, because I think he's going to fall back on some of those skills in the Defenders, and we're going to get a much stronger performance from it. Because this is going to be something more in his experience set.
Sure. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
Right, because unless it's a scene where Danny's the only member of the Defender team talking with whoever else, whether it's a side character or a villain or whoever, he's gonna have another one of the main four with him. And you can't basically, like any scene that they're in, they're gonna be sharing the spotlight.
Yeah.
Just like in Game of Thrones.
Yes, indeed.
That's actually, that gets me kind of excited. I was already excited for the Defenders, but more excited.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True.
I'll end on this. Aside from Jones jumping up and punching out the elevator camera, my favorite part is how Murdoch went back to the bandana.
Yeah.
Especially because, one, he's the only one wearing a mask. But also because someone posted the caption, that moment when in your trailer, when Daredevil looks more like Iron Fist than Iron Fist.
Nice. No, I thought about that. I thought about why he was the only one with a mask, and the only thing that popped into my head that made any sense was maybe he's in a place where there are many people that would recognize him.
He's the only one with a day job.
Man.
Or, specifically, he's the only one who cares about keeping his day job separate from his superheroing.
True that.
Yeah, Jones doesn't care. Danny doesn't care. Luke Cage, he doesn't have an option. He's public regardless. Yeah.
I'm Luke Cage.
Do we know if that elevator scene is an official scene or just them dicking around for a promo?
I don't know.
Because my question is, why did he go back to the bandana and not wearing his armor? Unless if it's an actual scene, I would assume it's because they got to go somewhere really quick and he doesn't have time to go suit up.
Yeah, it's true. I think he's the only one with a suit.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah.
Thought that was kind of funny.
Speaking of suit, did you notice the one time the Iron Fist suit made an appearance?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the Chinese footage there. Yeah, I saw that and I was like, well played.
Okay.
Well played.
Good job.
You can have this.
Good job.
Because they all four of them had their official comic book costume appear at one point, but Daredevil's the only one who actually wears his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah. My favorite is still the one for Luke Cage after he escaped.
He's got the friggin' tiara
and the bracers. Yeah, and he just grabbed some random clothes off a clothesline, and he's in the official Power Man costume, and he's still got his afro hair at the time.
Yeah, he just looks at a reflection, and he goes, "What the fuck?
You look like a damn fool."
You look like a damn fool.
Yeah, I would have liked to see Danny wear some kind of homage to the suit, to the comics. It felt like a disconnect, which just widened the gap that I was already feeling. I mean, at that point, I was just getting nitpicky, I'm aware.
Yeah, I would have to respectfully disagree at this point, just because Marvel's kind of changing the game as far as these heroes are concerned.
Yeah,
and I mean, if there's an homage to it, great. If you use it, fine. But
they did.
I don't think it's like having a costume be a make or break is what I don't really understand.
It wasn't a make or break for me. It was for me. It was
certainly. Yeah,
for
but
me,
I do know there are those that do think that.
Yeah, and
they're entitled to their opinion, but I don't understand it.
Yeah,
because it's clothing. It comes off sometimes.
It doesn't have anything to do with whether or not the character is the character. Yeah. I mean, Jessica Jones had a great point where she was like, I can't fight crime in that because aside from how well can you fight crime in a skin tight jumpsuit, the whole wig thing and everything. Luke Cage did it the best with the Easter egg, the little Easter egg scene. Daredevil made a point about making it an actual suit of armor.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Just with the fact of how violent he is.
Yeah, yeah.
And how violent the situations that he throws himself into are.
Right. It was, for me, just not seeing anything like that for Danny's character was just, like I said, it wasn't a make or break. It just widened the gap I was already feeling.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, his hand still glows.
Yeah, exactly. He had the Iron Fist. And honestly, when I did see that scene when he punched down the door, I was like, all right, I'm going to watch this to its conclusion, regardless.
He just folds over.
Flies like 10, 20 feet away, easy. Yeah.
Hey, Danny, what's going on, dude? And for whatever reason, I'm just reminded of the scene where he heals Colleen. Just like, well, summon the Iron Fist. Yeah.
Now open your hand.
Oh yeah, I can do it. It almost felt I can
do that?
It almost felt like he went, oh yeah, I can do that too.
Yeah. It's like, but it's the Iron Fist, not the Iron Palm.
Ooh.
You just blew my mind, man.
Oh. Bakudo, is it?
Bakudo, something like that.
Bakudo. Yeah, I'll just call it Bakudo.
Yeah.
And just like, oh, you want to see the palm, buddy? I want that. Just once. Please, just
once. He's not dead, of course.
Yeah.
No, there's no way he's
I
dead.
still hate him.
Yeah, he was a dick. What was with the scene where he was recharging the key? Because they didn't do anything. I was expecting at least something to happen, and they did some Tai Chi.
When he was in the...
When he first woke up after healing Colleen.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, when they were like in the courtyard or something, and Bakuda showed him how to recharge his ki faster.
Yeah.
They did some Tai Chi moves. It was cool and everything. They had some philosophical talk, and that was it.
Yeah.
It's like they talked it up like it was going to be more.
Well, it seems like the expectation is a light show, and in the Iron Fist, the only thing that like manifests is the Iron Fist.
Yeah, that's true.
So I figure
Although-
I'll give it a pass.
That's true. I'll give it a pass on that. And I did, going back to the scene in the hospital, I did like how like it showed the energy moving down his arm into his hand. That was really good.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that was awesome. And yeah, I mean, final points. Check it out. Worth watching. Especially if you intend to watch The Defenders.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. And any final thoughts?
Not really. I figure we would just end this one by plugging a bunch of shit that we're doing.
Yeah, basically. Well, plugging some shit we're doing. Newest episode of Seven Deadly Slaps came out recently.
Yep.
One of the best ones we've had so far, frankly.
It all came together production-wise.
It really did.
And, there are a few things in there that personally I would change, but...
Was that one of the ones where I've been editing the script on? No, I started right after that.
No, you started right after that.
Okay.
And that's, that's been immensely helpful.
Hmm.
And, Slaps came out, and I think we're going to be working on episode 7 soon.
Yep.
I have not recorded for it.
We'll get there.
But yeah, and I'm also, just gonna go ahead and plug my own VO career.
Hit it.
I've gotten a couple of gigs recently that I'm pretty proud of. I'll make some official announcements on Twitter about like when the things are released. So if you're interested in following that, just follow me on Twitter at LegendbyDesign. And
I think that's pretty much it.
yeah, I got a website, CodyRockVO.com.
Yeah. That's pretty much all we got. As always, guys, gals, and everything in between.
Well, do you have shit to plug?
Not at the moment.
Not at the moment?
Well, I mean, there's the shit we've been talking about, but I want to keep that on the DL for the moment.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Suffice to say, there is some local stuff going on that we're really excited about. Some folks we're going to be working with, including Comic Book Cast. Both.
Shout out to them.
Yeah, shout out.
They're really fun.
They're at Super Mega Fest this weekend over in New Hampshire, and I am so pissed off that I couldn't get to go.
Yeah.
But we're going to be working with Comic Book Cast on the podcast, on the Slap Happy podcast in general. But we've got another project coming down the pipe within the next few weeks-ish that we're really, really excited about. But we're going to keep that on the down low until it's time to unveil it.
Sure.
Anyone local, we're intending to unveil it at the August Vermont Comic-Con. So
very cool.
Yeah, if you are close enough to come to that, we would love to see you there. But I think that's pretty much where we're going to wrap it.
Yeah, sounds good, man.
Yeah, so as always, everybody, like, favorite, subscribe, follow us on Facebook and Twitter for Slap Happy Chaps. Twitter's at Slap Happy Chaps.
Twitter's at Slap Happy Chaps.
Yep. Follow us individually at LegendbyDesign and at SchwarzTKD. Go check out this guy's voiceover webpage.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I got my demos posted there, contact form, and it's getting there.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of in the the website itself is pretty bare bones, but it's what it needs to be.
Yeah.
It's what it needs to be right now, and it's what I can afford.
Exactly. Yeah. And we're gonna call it. So thank you guys for listening. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with the next episode.
Right on. Right on. Right on. Right on. Right on. Right on. Right on.